Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Pico number 595 in a US5. This is a door viewer. This may be the largest, or certainly among the largest. I've seen some door scopes as well that are awfully large contraptions. The 595 is a seriously large door viewer, even though it's still only 180 degree, but it allows you to articulate. So here's the box. When they ship the item to you, they literally take the installation instructions and wrap it up like this, put that in the box. I would prefer that they folded it nicely, but you know, at the end of the day, that's what they're giving you. And they've been doing it this way for decades. 30 years ago, the first time I saw one of these, it was the same, right in the installation instructions and folding it up. But they are linked to down below, and we'll touch on that in a moment. So, not to bury the lead here, but this is what we're talking about. This is a large piece of equipment, and what's unique about it is the fact that you can maneuver very easily, very smoothly, what you're looking at. Okay? Now, I have seen this installed. Not a lot of help, you know, if you have just a door and there's no obstructions on the sides. I've seen this installed very effectively in stairwells when you have areas that might permit someone to be less visible, where you can move this around, move it up quite severely. Okay. It'd be all but impossible to effectively demonstrate what this is because it covers just so much. I mean, there's you get a lot of you get a serious amount of movement out of this. I mean, the field of view is just huge, what you're getting with this. Okay? You're definitely seeing quite a substantial amount of distance. People like this because you can kind of see around to the side a little bit by manipulating this unit. Very smooth action, I have to tell you. The finish looks very good. US5... they could probably call that 609 because that means that this scalp plate is made of brass and that it has an antiqued process over it and then a clear coat. They're calling it US5. I mean, that's okay. But being of a brass base material, at least that scalp plate, I'm quite sure is. They could call it 609. 609 is US5, antique brass, except 609 means brass base material. US5 means antique brass, but it doesn't tell us what the base material is. I think if this was made of steel in a BHMA code, it wouldn't be 609. It would maybe be 639. Don't quote me. It's 638, 639, somewhere right in that range. If you looked at the BHMA table for finishes, you'd certainly find that there. Couple of basic dimensional properties on this pretty large unit. About 2 3/4 outside diameter. Okay. In terms of the door range, they say it'll go from 1 inch to 2 inch thick doors. Those screws are obviously threaded in a little bit. Oh, they're really not. Ouch. That didn't seem to be quite 2 inch. Yeah, I'm gonna be hesitant to say 2 inch. I removed those screws, and I'm only at 1 3/4. I'm gonna say that that's not the case. I'm also gonna say that this screw, it might be 632. It looks a little smaller than 832, so it shouldn't be impossible to get a longer screw. But the real situation is, you know, the length of the stem, and that would kind of get to 2 inch. But getting beyond 1 3/4, the screws are going to be too short. So there you go. So when they come up with 180 degree. You're getting a 140 degree view. When you move that unit around, you're going to get an extra 40 degree. Designed for use in residences, apartments, commercial, and professional buildings. Revolves to provide an extra measure of safety, a 40 degree extra view. Stamped brass components. Finest crystal glass lens. It is certainly very, very clear. There's no question about that. That is not a plastic lens, I would attest to, just because it has very good clarity on it. There's no doubt. Enhances front door hardware. Sure, this is a lot of hardware that you see here in terms of it being finished. So if you have antique brass hardware, this would certainly complement that. Manufactured in all standard finishes. They are. You can get them in brass and chrome, etc. They are made in the United States for over 5 decades. That's probably 6 or longer. 2 3/4 inch diameter, which we measured. And then the funny thing about this is it requires a 2 3/8 hole through the door. So that's what's really like, whoa, that's big. So a couple of things about 2 3/8. First of all, you're going to need a 2 3/8 hole saw. No standard hole saw kit comes with one that's 2 3/8. So you're going to need a tool just to install this, most likely. The other thing about 2 3/8, yeah, you'll need 2 3/8 because that body dimension is about 2 5/16, no, just shy on 2 5/16. The other thing is it's most absolutely not permissible for use in a fire door. It's not UL listed at all. The size of the hole, drilling it in the field would absolutely be beyond what could be what is permissible to drill in the field. So be mindful. I've had people want to put such a viewer in a fire door. Well, we're not the code police. We're not the enforcers of that material, letting you know what you can and cannot do as part of what we do. This is not permissible for use in a fire door at all. Realistically, you're not going to put this in a fire door, although you might be tempted to in a condo situation, in a attached garage situation where that door is probably 20-minute, maybe more. So be mindful. You don't want to do that. So there are some supporting documents down below. Let's switch to the screen view where we can take a look at all of that. Now moving on with this video, here is the item that we are indeed looking at. It's the 595 in a US5 finish. Revolving door viewer, antique brass. Designed for residences, apartments, commercial, and professional buildings. Engineered to provide 140 degree of visibility. And regarding that door thickness that we had talked about earlier, I have an email into the manufacturer to confirm that, and I will adjust the extended description accordingly. Again, I'm not seeing how this is going to work on a 2-inch thick door because of the length of the machine screws. If the machine screws were longer, I personally wouldn't have trouble with the 2-inch door thickness claim. But I'm not seeing it, so waiting to hear back. Finest crystal lens available, stamp brass components, enhances front door hardware. We've discussed all of this. Some images here. And now, product catalog. Let's take a look. This document gives you an idea of the different finishes available. Okay, gives you an idea of what they're covering. 140 plus the 40 degree additional. The instructions, this is what the hardware is, again, literally wrapped in. I'm hoping that that's a typo, just like that's a typo. I'm hoping just like that's probably a typo, or the screws are just the wrong length. We'll sort it out. 57 inch. A soft clean cloth is recommended for cleaning lenses. Do not use cleaning solutions, brass or metal polished. Right on. Now the height at which you install this is recommended. 57 inch. That's 4 foot 9 inch. Ought to be adequate for most users, obviously. it's at your discretion. You know, install the item where it best suits not only the users, but you might have to take into account the door construction as well. You know, if you have a 4 horizontal style and rail, 4 panel horizontal panel style and rail door, you're probably going to need to adjust that to get into the center of one of the mid rails that are on the door. So proceed with the height as you like. Finishes, very nice. And US11 antique bronze, okay. Satin chrome, polished chrome, right. All the typical culprits are here. They do list on their site that oil rubbed bronze is available along with satin nickel. Okay, and we will take a look at that now. The link to the manufacturer's page is here. Then their website is here. And they are indeed stating that those are 2 new finishes. Not in their finish chart, but they are listed in our site as well. Okay. Now, in terms of installing this item, I might suggest that you, it doesn't appear as if you have to be ultra accurate with your dimension, but you do need to be, extremely accurate with your dimension, because that's a large hole to drill. And namely, what I'm referring to is this concept. Okay. Here's the concept that I'm referring to. We have 4 different door edges here: square, beveled, rabbeted, and radiused. So when you're measuring from the edge of the door to the center of your hole, be mindful. If you're measuring it on a square edge door, when you go back over half of your door width, you're going to be in the same place on both sides of the door. But if you do that on a beveled edge door, those holes are not going to line up. So be mindful to check whether or not you have a beveled door. It's possible you'll install it on a rabbeted edge door, very possible. Be mindful, you need to account for where you're placing your tape measure, because I would certainly mark my hole and then drill halfway through the door on each side is how I would account for that. And, this bevel from here to here, that dimension is only 1/8 inch for every 2 inch in door thickness. Okay, so you're really talking about 3/32 of an inch, just heavy on that. But at the end of the day, you don't really need for the hole to be off nearly that much. And the inside trim plate is definitely going to tolerate you being off. There's no doubt. But just to point out to you, so that you don't drill your hole and then you're off by, more than a 1/16 of an inch. This would explain why, if you are definitely dealing with a beveled edge door. Okay, so let's wrap up this video. Now, that link to the manufacturer's page is their catalog, which we discussed, their website, which we took a look at. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, I did have discussion with the factory between these 2 parts of the video. So here's how this works. By the time you're seeing this video, you'll need to specify your door thickness. 1 inch up to and including 1 3/4, and then over 1 3/4 to 2 inch. They do indeed substitute in longer screws when it's a 2 inch door thickness. So that change will be made. Admittedly, it's unusual that you'll have a door that's thicker than 1 3/4, but it's very possible. The factory did confirm that they are 632 machine screws. So should you have a door that's 2.5 inch thick, well, you could probably still make this work. Even though how close you'll get your eye to the lens here, is going to be a bit compromised. But probably 2 1/4 probably wouldn't be horrible. You'd be a 1/4 inch shy of that. That might be okay. Anyway, that's a 632 thread, as I had speculated earlier. And they will, if you specify up to 2 inch, over 1 3/4 inch, they will literally swap out the screws and go with a longer screw. That's how that's done. If you have any questions on the 595 Pico door viewer, we don't sell a lot of them, but we do routinely sell them. I haven't sold many in US5. Of course, satin chrome is going to be the common finish, or polished brass, really, but only because of the more modern, relatively modern popularity of a 1970s finish versus a 1980s finish versus a 1990s finish. You don't know. But it all comes back eventually. What's nice is they have options available. What they should have is black. That should be a finish that they have. I'm going to recommend that they consider that sort of black finish. It's obviously the vogue finish nowadays. Any questions on the 595 Pico door viewer or any other Pico product, which I don't know that there are any other Pico products? If you have any questions on the 595, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.